The Israeli government is coming under fire for a recent decision to ban IDF soldiers from volunteering with the children of migrant workers. But what is Israel's moral obligation to asylum seekers in the Jewish state? Joining us today in the studio is Knesset member Amir Ohana to give his insight on the issue. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Natasha.
So to begin, do you think this is a moral decision to ban soldiers from aiding migrant workers?
No, actually, I think the issue is what is the purpose of IDF, the Israeli Defense Force? What part should it take in the Israeli society? And in my opinion, and I think many others, it should deal with defense. Okay, combating terror, fighting, training. But we don't want an IDF that would become the Ministry of Immigration and Ministry of Education and whatnot. Therefore, I think it was a wise decision, a good decision. Definitely when we're talking about working with illegal infiltrators, actually this is what most of them are. I'm not talking about refugees, because Israel has invested throughout the years billions in stopping that illegal infiltration. Building a fence, building prisons for that. Any developed economy, such as the US, Australia, and Israel, should have the possibility to control those who want to come in. Otherwise, we would have 50 million people from Africa trying to come in. And of course, no economy can stand that. Therefore, it would be really pretty absurd for the state to, from one hand, trying to stop it, and from the other hand, trying to help and encourage that kind of phenomena.
So in the last year, there's a statistic that I found that says about 50,000 asylum seekers from African countries like Sudan have made their way into Israel.
Yeah, most of them to southern Tel Aviv.
To southern Tel Aviv. Now, what is Israel's obligation to these people who clearly need assistance, but may pose obviously a larger demographic threat to the country?
I would say that we have no debate, no argument about those who really are refugees, those who are really at life risk where they came from. We should help them. We should give them the best assistance that we can. But this is not the case for the vast majority, I would say, of those people. Most of them came to earn more money, to send to their families, and to have better jobs. And of course, as I said before, we need to control that. We cannot have that illegally. Therefore, the solution for these people should be taking them back to where they came from, or to a third state that would accept them. And there are certain contacts with other states that are trying to accept those people.
Let's change topics
for
a second. I want to talk about something that I know that you've done a lot of work on following this recent wave of terror. We've seen a lot of lone wolf attacks, and there's been a push to allow more Israeli civilians to be able to carry weapons for self-defense in the case that they get into a dangerous situation. What is your response to people who say that that will just make the streets more dangerous here in Israel?
Well, the streets are pretty dangerous as it is. So let's try to make them safer. And when I say safer, I mean citizens who has no criminal record or medical relevant record and served or are serving in the reserve army of the IDF should be able to carry a firearm for self-defense. Now, we have seen many of those attacks trying to be stopped by citizens carrying a selfie stick, a guitar, a shopping cart. It never works. People should have firearms for self-defense in order to stop those terror attacks. We have seen 9 of those terror attacks just in the area of Jerusalem that were foiled by citizens carrying firearms. One of them was the incident in Rami Levi in Shar Binyamin, a shopping mall, a supermarket actually, where 2 youngsters took out knives and started to stab the shoppers, the buyers. The first one to confront them was a soldier, but he had no firearm because he was on vacation. So he came barehanded, and he was killed. It was Yanai Weissman, Zichrono Livracha. And after seconds, the second person who confronted them was a citizen carrying a firearm, and he indeed stopped the terror attack. He shot them, and they were stopped. In Jaffa, we had an American student stabbed to death as the terrorist, the stabber, for nearly 20 minutes was running through the Tayelet, through the esplanade of Jaffa in Tel Aviv, stabbing 11 people. One of them was the American
Finally,
student.
somebody scared him off by hitting him with a guitar.
No, actually, the one with the guitar actually broke the guitar on the terror attack, but it did not stop him. He was stopped when a police officer came to the scene and shot him after nearly 20 minutes. We want to see less and less terror, but when it occurs, we need to stop it immediately and allow the citizens to defend themselves. This is really their basic right.
So what is the next step? I mean, how do we change the current restrictions?
I raised the caucus in the Knesset for gun restrictions, for easing gun restrictions actually in Israel, and I'm in close contact with the Minister of Domestic Security, Gilad Erdan, and I'm glad to say that he sees eye to eye with me that we need to go through a process of easing gun restrictions here in Israel. You need to know, in the States, you have 112% of privately owned firearms. It means that more than one weapon for a citizen. Of course, some has 5 and some has none, but these are the numbers. In Israel, it's between 2 to 4%. You know, Israel has an image.
You have a lot more people who are trained probably to use them.
Israel has an image of everyone has a gun machine in their living room and a tank in their backyard. Really, they don't. We have so few privately owned firearms, and I think we should have more. It's actually a force multiplier in the hands of well-trained citizens.
Now, one concern, though, is that, you know, let's say there is a lone wolf attack that happens. I'm trying to remember, well, it was in Beersheba, the central bus station. There was an Ethiopian, I believe, or a Sudanese man. I can't remember exactly where he was from, but he ended up being attacked by the masses because they thought he was responsible for a terror attack.
Actually, the one who shot him was a security guard. He's the one who shot him
But
first.
how do we make sure that people are able to distinguish, you know, in the madness of a terror attack?
That's a good question. We can't be actually 100% sure. But we should have those who carry firearms more trained. And in order to do that, my suggestion was that we don't need only to double, but to triple the training that people are going through right now when they are carrying firearms.
So maybe require people to go through a training before they get those arms.
That's right.
Okay.
We should do that. Because otherwise we would have weapons in the hands of people who are untrained, and that is even more dangerous than having none at all. So yes, I want people to be well trained. It's part of the program, and I hope we will see more and more of that. And of course, as a consequence, less and less terror attacks. Anyway, terror attacks will succeed.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We'll see what happens with this bill that you're trying to get passed.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.